Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time reviewing on Dead Rising Watchtower. Now, as you know, Dead Rising Watchtower is a 2015 action zombie film that was directed by Zach Littvolsky, and I would say is pretty much a story that was written by Tim Cotter, which does keep the feel and tone to the Dead Rising games quite well. And for those who don't know, Dead Rising was a popular game series that started in 2006 on the Xbox and eventually would also get other sequels, Dead Rising 2, 3, and 4. Now, from the first three ones, you had Frank West for the first one, Chuck Green for the second one, Nick Ramos for the kind of third one. And I would say, in my opinion, Dead Rising Watchtower feels like the Dead Rising 4 we should have gotten. So the premise of the film is meant to take place in between Dead Rising 2 and 3. We follow online reporter Chase Carter and his camera woman Jordan. I would say Chase Carter is kind of a mix of Frank West and his own. Like, you can tell he doesn't want to do any more of these big has-been zombie storylines and wants to do something bigger. And we see how Jordan tries to get him to be a bit more responsible and more mature. And we see how after covering their story at East Mission, at a well-quarantined area, we see how the Zombrax no longer works, and once again, a new zombie outbreak emerges. And we do kind of see how not only does Chase Carter is left without his camera woman Jordan, he also gets help from one of the survivors, Crystal, as well as a woman known as Maggie. And I would say this is where I think the film does what it needs to do, because we do kind of see how Chase has to kind of realize to use his surroundings, his environments, and start to kind of get to be the badass he's supposed to be. And we kind of see how Crystal knows full well the sort of environment she's going to be in, how she's going to kind of create the kind of weaponry and everything she needs to kind of get out. And I would say Maggie's just kind of thrown in for the sidelines. And I'll admit I actually like the idea that you do see Frank West with the sort of news anchor talking about the experiences that he's been through. And I think, in my opinion, Rob Riggle really does a great job as Frank West. Like, he really plays this kind of, like non-serious, but kind of guy who's been at the outbreak before and has the experience what he's been through. And if you have played the first game, then yeah, you know Frank West knows what happens and the repercussions from the first game. And I think what the film, I think, gets right is kind of getting the psychopaths done so well, having them kind of like these Mad Max dangerous-like characters, having Crystal and the others create their weaponry, having them to kind of use what they can. It feels like the game, but more as the film, done right. And I think this was the thing, I think, if you are going to make a movie based on a game, you need to make sure to get things done well. And I like how you do have Jordan trying to figure out the pieces on why the Zombrax didn't work, and so does Chase. I think it gives you two sides of two different stories, but we do kind of see how Chase kind of later learns what's really pulling the strings, the same way with Jordan. And I think it's interesting that, much like the Mortal Kombat film, the original, and the 2021, and Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and Sonic the Hedgehog, I think, to me, Dead Rising Watchtower is what I think Dead Rising 4 should have been. And I think Chase Carter doesn't really feel like a Frank West clone. He's just a guy wanting to do a bigger story, and when he gets his story, he later learns to kind of get out of his comfort zone and do something bigger and more impressive. I think it's a shame Dead Rising 4 was just another Frank West story, just the first game in reverse different order. I think Watchtower is like a breath of fresh air, giving you a different environment, something I think the team behind the film wanted to do. And I think this film definitely deserves 2 thumbs ups. Yeah, and I think if you're a fan of Dead Rising, and if you want to see a movie based on a game done right, this is definitely your movie. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.